This is a little bit of an experiment for me, in more ways than one actually, because I'm using my webcam for this rather than my mobile phone, because I need to be able to see what you can see. So I'm having to use OBS. But my webcam is not always happy with objects that move around and all that sort of good stuff. So bear with me if it goes out of focus, and I'll try and correct as quickly as I can. So this is a god Phenix, and when it was released in the UK, it was badged as if it was in Battle of the Planets. This god Phenix never was. So the god Phenix that we saw in Battle of the Planets was effectively sort of god Phenix 1, whereas this is god Phenix 2, and this appeared in season 2 of Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. So this was the toy that was being produced in sort of Japan and Taiwan, places like that, at the time when Battle of the Planets was appearing in Britain, and so we got this imported by Popy / Bandai. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is A, to celebrate the fact that I have one of these, because I loved this when I was very, very little. Probably one of my very, very earliest toys, actually. And it used to have little yellow vehicles that came in these little hatches here. But the problem with this on eBay, and I've only ever seen it on eBay, I've never seen it at any of the toy fairs that I've been to, is that this beak piece here is never there. Typically it is snapped off at the point where it hinges here. So normally it would go up and form up like that, and then the vehicles would be released from that section in the front here, and there's a little button here that would move that forwards, and out that would pop. Now, I bought this one, which is, you know, to be honest, it's not bad. It's not bad, but you look at it on the underside, and you can see that there is quite a lot of wear up on the nose section, and there is nose around the missile launchers on either side, at the front there, and although it doesn't suffer very badly from the yellowing that you often get with these, you can also see that some of the tail paint is quite chipped there at the back, and the stickers on the wings aren't brilliant. And this incidentally is a good indicator that this is the smaller of the two types of god Phenix that you can get. If I can show you, this is PB-73, so Popy 73 basically. You might be able to see that if I can get that in focus for you, which is easier said than done, but it's basically located between the two rearmost landing gear struts there. You think you can see that now. As I say, unfortunately I'm having to sort of, the focus is a little bit flipped for me, so I'm kind of doing things inverted, but I think you can see that down the bottom there. So generally speaking, this is not a chronic example, but I have a cunning plan, which Ed from Cosmic Council was quite keen on as a concept, and I had thought about it, because I now also have this one. Now, as you can hopefully immediately see, the stickers are much cleaner. Overall, the paint is much more solid on it. It's slightly brighter, and it doesn't suffer from the same chipping issues on the paintwork, at least not to the same extent as the other ones. So I thought, why not do what I had suggested and what I had contemplated, which was find a donor one, because as you can see, this one still has its sort of neck piece intact there. But the question is, can I do something with this that will allow it to take the other examples, nose and beak, and thereby create a better overall example as compared with the one that I showed you first. Now, I can see on this one that the plastic is snapped off there above where it fits onto the where the nose would hinge, basically. So I don't think there's any way to reattach the beak onto this one. So what I'm going to try and do is take off all of the sort of the hinging sections, but I'm going to leave that yellow the yellow plastic piece in place, and I'm hoping I might be able to reattach it using that. Now what I don't know is whether or not there's a pin on this neck piece. If there is a pin on the neck piece there, where it connects across here, it's kind of difficult for me to show you it, even with my monitor set up like this, but if this element here is held on using a pin, I might have problems. So I'm going to have a go and just sort of see what happens and see if I can just take this off to start with. I'm just going to readjust my camera so it's hopefully going to zoom in a little bit better for you. Okay, so you might be able to see that a little bit better now, I hope. So I'm just going to try and get into this and take off the original neck piece, because I don't think it's going to work as it is with my particular skill set anyway. I mean, the major problem that I see with these when they do come up is that they are very, very prone to yellowing on the tail section and on both of these front sections. This is metal. This is die cast because it's a Popy product. They do tend to have a lot of die cast in them. So as a result, that section seems to be more resistant to yellowing, because obviously it's the plastic reacting with UV that's the problem in terms of the yellowing. But I do love the production quality on these, because I'm unscrewing stuff to do stuff with it. But B, these sort of wings are actually kind of ratcheted. I don't know if you can hear that clicking, but that's actually sort of indicative of the fact that that's actually pinged off again. This is interesting because see, that's actually spring loaded. So because it's spring loaded, it holds the neck up, so it doesn't sort of wibble and wobble about the place. Now, as I half thought, that piece is not coming anywhere. There's definitely something holding that in place. So that wasn't the only thing holding it together. So, what do I do now? Well, I think it's a case of experimentation here, really. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this little screw out here and see if that will let the that sort of bottom section come out. If it does, then I might be able to get the original neck piece out off the back of that. I'm just hoping I'm going to be able to get it back in again. That's the multi-million-dollar question here. So what has that freed up? And the interesting thing is that this seems like, touch wood, it is totally reliant on the screws to hold everything in place. Now, that doesn't seem to want to immediately bounce out, but it's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. I don't know what else is holding it in place, of course. Very, very scared of it snapping, because I don't want to do anything bad to the underlying elements. So I don't know what's holding that in place. Well, I'm going to try taking that screw. This is all one piece, so I'm going to end up taking the whole thing apart if I do this. What to do? So my fundamental problem is I can't get access to this area here unless it's split apart, I think, so I may just have to do it. I don't have cause problems for myself, but I don't think this is going to come out happily if I don't get rid of everything else as well, because I suspect that the body as a whole is probably designed to lock that in place, so I can't do anything else with it. So let's try this. This might have been better suited to a live stream, but if I was trying to read and stuff at the same time as doing this, I'd probably really tie myself up in knots. The good thing is I've got the other one as a reference, and the other one is a much better example, full stop. So even if I do destroy this one in the process, well, I'll have learned something. Okay, that's good, okay. So somehow that one was holding that in place. Okay, that's useful. That's useful to understand. That's that. Okay. So that pins through there. So that, okay. So maybe that was actually pinning all of that in then. Now, question is, does this now allow me access to that? Probably not. I was kind of hoping that once I'd moved that, I would get enough access to be able to do something with this. But I still can't even see exactly how this is being held in place, unfortunately. But my guess, having seen some of the other parts of it, is that there's a pin running through it there. So I've got that one there. Right, in for a penny, in for a pound. Let's try this. See if I can screw the screws back in again afterwards. That'll be the fun part, because this is all for naught if I can't actually put this particular one back together again, I guess. Let's just give it a go. Okay. I assume that isn't going to let me do anything that much more now. Is it? No. I've got incredibly wobbly engines. I don't know if that was a feature on all of them, but okay, let's take this last one off. I think things are going to start dropping out now. In fact, I suspect the tail is going to drop out when I do this. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. That's okay. That's no great shock. It just goes to show how well they were put together in the first place. They're not reliant on glue at all, I don't think. In fact, so I mean, it's rather like sort of taking a dinghy apart. I guess the Japanese were still sort of using the old school method at this point in time to put their stuff together. Okay. So that's kind of expected. I've still got the screw, which is good, but I'd quite like it to be not there. Okay. So, what have I got now? Oh gosh, there's another screw down in the centre of it as well. Does that mean I still can't get this apart? Let's lift the wings out of the way a little bit, and then maybe I can. No, that's still solid. So I think I need to. There's a screw in here, so I think I need to take this one out as well. I was not anticipating it being this much work, especially not at this time of night. But anyway, let's see what I can do. And of course the main body's now eating that screw, which is not good, but hopefully I will now be able to ease it apart with a bit of luck, he says. Please let me ease you apart, that'd be nice. I'd really like to get that screw out of there as well. So I suppose my next question is, what else is holding it together if that wasn't it? Can I just ease it apart at the front a bit? I get a distinct impression that there is still something holding this together. I'm just not sure what it is. It looks like it's really close to coming apart, but I really don't want to put too much pressure on it in case I do something that I can't undo. Really tricky to know what to do for the best here. I mean, I've gone this far with it, I can't really leave it like this. There's still no access to the front there. Well, not enough that I can actually use to do anything useful with, which causes me difficulty. In fact, that front now really wants to lock down. It's not even letting me oh, there we go. Okay. Ah. Okay. Okay. So there we go. So I've successfully extricated that piece. So that's the top half of the God Phenix. Now I think what I'll do is, oop, there go the engines. I thought that was going to happen. That's okay. Now then, what on earth do I do now? Okay, so that's just the hatch mechanism there. So how does that... Ah! Okay. I see, so it's purely gravity based. Okay, that's interesting. It's just such a shame that that bit, I don't know if this will focus, but it's just snapped there, so there's nothing that can be done for me to reuse it other than doing this, unfortunately. Okay. So, I'm just thinking what I now need to do, because this will require me to do the same process on the other Phenix and then slot all of it back together again. So I won't bore you with that part, but I will rejoin you when I have done the same process to the other Phenix, and then when I come to try and put this one back together again. Okay, so as you can see here, this is the older, the first one that I showed you. Now I've successfully managed to get this beak assembly off it. I think it's easier when you take this out from the neck. It just gives it a little bit more room to free up. So I was a little bit hesitant at first to actually fully take it off, but I don't think either of them have got any damage to that area. They seem to be about the same, but I thought you might like to see the sort of exploded view of it, if you like, you know. So this is the that's basically what you sort of end up with, and obviously the tail is separate as well. So now the task in front of me is, I think I will reassemble the original one as best I can, so that I can always sell that then for, as a sort of spares and repairs version of it, if nothing else. So what I will do to make sure that I don't confuse myself is just slot the previous broken piece, because it's still, someone might be able to do something with that if they're particularly good with their glue and so on. That might still be of use to someone. I'm just going to slot this back onto there so that it's in place, and I don't then start trying to, don't confuse my main bodies when it comes down to it. It's slightly difficult with this just to figure out which way I'm supposed to be going to show it to you. So I'm going to turn my focus on reassembling the other one. Now, I realised in doing this that you could actually leave that in place. That didn't really affect anything. So you wouldn't necessarily have to completely strip it as I just have done. Now, were I being a perfectionist about this, I would probably try and clean its innards out a bit first, but I'm just going to try and put it back together without breaking the whole thing. That feels like the better option for me personally. So these are also the wings of the original example there. And I'll try to keep it screws in one place so I know roughly where it is. I'll reuse. Now I think what I will do first is take the wings here and just pop the neck assembly in, so I know that's there. And when as soon as I've done that, what I'm going to do is pop the this little sort of ratchet mechanism here back in again, because that I think is pretty fundamental to it staying in place and behaving as you would expect it to. Now the next question is, am I going to get that in the right way round, or is it in fact this way round? I'd imagine it's got to be this way round, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't be in the right place. As I say, doing this late on at night was pretty stupid on my part, but anyway. It's quite useful having another one to refer back to though, because then I can sort of see what the likely positioning is supposed to be. Probably easiest if I get ready to put the screws back in at the same time. Fortunately, I ended up with a screwdriver that actually had some magnetism to it, so it should make my life a little bit easier, hopefully. This hopefully makes sense. One of those times where I should probably watch my own video back and just see exactly what it looked like before as a reference point. You live and learn, as they say. Oops, completely messed that up on the first attempt, as was likely. Blue Peter, this isn't. Yeah, it must be like that, I think. Oh no, maybe actually no, that's wrong, but it is that way around. Okay. So I'm second guessing myself here a little bit, but I think that because the indents on the yellow piece are facing upwards now, that makes more sense, because when the screw goes in it won't then stick out. I'm hoping I found the hole for it there. I don't have to put too much pressure on that. Really hoping this is somewhere near accurate. feels not unreasonable. It looks like the ratchet is in the right sort of place to catch the neck, so I think I'm okay, he says. Okay, that's as tight as I'm daring to do it because I don't want to risk any damage to it if I can avoid it. Okay, so just trying to think about ordering now. So that should drop down there. A little tiny plastic flap, which used to give little yellow pieces in. It used to go the opposite way round, thinking about it. So that needs to drop in with its clip there, like that. In fact, it may even need to come in from the other angle, because otherwise that may need to come in as if it was like that. That's awkward. That's very awkward. Maybe that was just being stuck in the wall. No, wings, don't do that. It seemed like it was such a good idea at the time. Okay, applied a little bit of common sense to that. That's better. Right. Now then, speaking of common sense, try putting the wings back on in the right direction. Okay. So, wing there. Wing there. Let them drop down. And then hop body. I'm keeping it this way just to make sure that the flap doesn't come out, but because the engines are going to, that's not helpful. Okay, I'll come to the engines in a second. So it's just a question of getting everything lined back up, with the possible exception of the engines. They're going to be awkward about it. Just trying to get them in before I close everything else up, because once everything else is closed up, surprise, surprise, I can't get the engines back in again. So I'm just doing this a little bit out of your view because I'm trying to line things up visually, and I can't do it any other way than this. Okay, I'm getting there, I'm getting there, I'm getting there. Might actually be there, I think. Now then, if that's right, then I should be able to screw the body together. And the wings are still ratcheting, so that's good. Okay. I'm sure I'm making a massive meal out of this compared to pretty much anyone else who is doing it, so I can only apologise, but this is me. Ooh, hang on, I've got something wrong here. Well, not wrong, but there's this, I'm forgetting about this little screw up the top, because if you remember, that one I discovered after I'd unscrewed everything else. Now this is going to be interesting, because this was, I'm hoping this was the right one that I'm doing here. Now how am I going to get that in there? Well, let's hope it's still got some magnetism to it. I'm going to do it at an angle so that if it drops, then it may not drop inside it again. And the next sound you hear will be me breathing again. Okay. Right. Okay, so I've reapplied that, which I think helps to keep the innards together as a whole, which is good. This is pretty crazy, isn't it? I mean, this is probably easily a 40-plus-year-old toy, and I'm not toy polloi. I shouldn't be messing with this stuff, but she's going back together. Touch wood. Now then, let's do something else now. Let's put cobblers. No, this might still work actually. I think I can still get this back in. Don't think I needed to do it first. Although if I did, I'm going to be cursing. Because it didn't need to come out in order to disassemble it, which it suggests that I can just slot it straight back in, doesn't it? That's not looking the same. No, it's that way around, isn't it? Duh. Right. So can I just slot that back in there like that, or do I need to take it apart? I may have snookered myself just a little bit there. Just debating whether or not I can make it walk back far enough without having to take it apart again. I think I can. Oh no, I can. That's fine. Yeah, that will work actually. Yeah, so you definitely didn't need to do anything with that first time round to do it. That's fine. That's okay. That's an okay order. So let's put the first. No, that was. No, hang on. What was that screw for? There was a screw left over, isn't there? I wonder if I'd used the right ones now, but anyway. Oh yes, that's right, because that one goes down the centre of that one. So let me actually put, I'm actually going to do this in a slightly different order. So I'm going to screw that down there. I have a sneaking suspicion that I've used the wrong, I think I've picked up the wrong screw. I think I'm going to correct myself because, well, actually, if this screw's in there, I won't. All the screws will still be there, so to speak. Okay. All right, I should do it the right way, shouldn't I? Hang on. This is why you should always label your screws when you take them out, because that should be a flat one. I can't quite convince myself if I'm right or wrong in terms of how I've just done it, because I may simply not have screwed that one in as much. No, I'm just gonna use this one as it is. I think it's the right sort of bore, and I don't think it'll matter for the purposes of just bringing it back together again. The main point is all the original screws are there, so if someone wants to jiggle with that, then they could do, and they'll still have all the original screws to use. So I'm not going to feel too guilty about that, quite frankly. Right, okay. So I've got the cockpit back together. That's good. That is in there as it should be. It really is, even though it's misbehaving. The engines are in, so when that's screwed together, they should be happy enough. They do. The engines do seem to wobble around a bit, just in and of themselves. I think it's a feature rather than a bug, and that's the view I'm taking. Okay, so I squeeze that together. I should then be able to do. Let's do that one first. Put that one in. Just remember to breathe. Breathing is good. to tell my son that. It's running the family clearly. So now I just need the tail, which has the paint on that side, and I drop that on top of there like that to hold it all in place. That's it. That's it. And then, whilst I hold that in place, I think that's all happy now. I'll just put the last screw back in. Right, so all being well, what I've now been left with is the body from the second Phenix with the nose from the first Phenix I showed you. Now, not quite sure it's sitting right, but actually didn't on the original Phenix either quite. So there might still be an argument for a bit of adjustment on the screws in there, perhaps, and maybe I do need to just switch the screws about a little bit. But in general principles, I've managed to take one off, put one back on, and as you can see, I think that's not a bad match. So even though this is probably a slightly different coloration as compared with the body of this one and the tail of this one, none of them are so perfect that they're particularly radically different, and that's why I thought, looking at it on the eBay auctions, that it would probably work out as a nice swap around. So I'm actually quite happy with that as a final result. For display purposes, I think that's ended up really nicely. And I'm not normally super fussy about the state of things, but you know, that just is you know, that's just nicer, isn't it? When you compare it with, I'm not going to tilt the old one upside down because the bits will come off it, but you know, it looks much cleaner than the other version. So not impossible to do, even for someone who is as naturally clumsy and ham-fisted as myself. And I've done it all on camera, so you can see exactly what I've done. There will be a part 2 to this video. But that will come in due course. So I hope that's been of use to you and of, you know, a little bit of interest, just to see what's actually inside these things and how they were put together. That's what I think one of the things reasons why I like these Popy models so much is that they're just so incredibly durable, being sort of part metal and everything else. So I'm going to leave that one for there before I push my luck any further, and do like and subscribe as ever, and I will see you for another video soon. Cheers for now.